Okay, so we've just turned this filter on. Now what happens inside this filter is we've got a strainer at the bottom, so the water comes out of the aquarium, then it comes in, and there's a pre-filter sponge at the top here that you never want to forget about. And there's also an O-ring there, which means if you ever play with that pre-filter sponge, please make sure the O-ring's back, otherwise you will get a leak on this. Then the water goes down to the bottom and it goes up through the filter. Now what's going to happen in here is two main things. One is over time good bacteria will grow, and the good bacteria will break down the waste from the fish. And also your particles will get stuck. Now if you've got filter wool in it like there is now, over a period of let's say 3 months, month is better, but let's say up to 3 months, then what we'd want to do is we want to turn the power off, unplug it, then we're going to pull this out. Then what we're going to do is pull this over and pull that over. Now what that does is shut these two taps, and you can then pop it out. Then that can go to a wet area. So that can go to a wet area. Then you open the top up, and then the sponge and the noodles must be cleaned in water from the fish tank. So you're removing water from the fish tank to give it a clean. You don't have to get it really clean. You just have to get all the crap out of it and put it back, because it's a biological living thing. Then the filter wool, you can just replace that. Now, if you want to lower your maintenance significantly, you can actually put polyfilter in instead of the filter wool, or with the filter wool, and that will massively lower your amount of maintenance you need to do, because the polyfilter will actually remove anything impure out of your water. When you put the polyfilter in, it starts white, and then over a period of months it turns black, and once it's black you chuck it out and put more in. And I would say the polyfilter is one of the absolute best things you can do to lower the maintenance of your tank. Now, when you see the water coming out of the filter, it's really important you can see it, because right now you can see the water agitating. Now that's really good. You have to have that for two main reasons. One is the water's going to come down into this closed system, and the process that the bacteria uses to break down the waste is a process of what's called oxidization, which means it uses all the oxygen. So when the water comes back out again, I need to make sure that the water's breaking, because that oxygen has to degas. We have to allow gas exchange. So that's why having a breaking surface is really, really important for fish, because what will happen is the filter will make the oxygen level go down and the CO2 level go up. And then you're going to have fish in the aquarium, which will also make the oxygen go down and the CO2 level go up. And then if that happens, your redox potential falls. And what that means is your filter will not work as well. Your bacteria will not like it. Your fish will not like it, but your algae will love it. Because if you raise your CO2 level and lower your oxygen level, which lowers your redox, then your algae is going to go stupid. So the first thing we want to do is not have the lights on too much. If we just put the lights on a timer and just have them on at a time when is most bang for buck. And if we put catfish in here, because there is heaters in these tanks, so the tank's going to stay around 25 degrees. The goldfish are going to love it. They're going to think it's summer all year. And the catfish will do a wonderful job going around and keeping the tank clean. And how much you need to clean this is very much governed by, number one, the quality of the food. So there's two types of foods I'm going to recommend for this tank. Number one is Spectrum's probiotics. Spectrum's probiotics is a cold extruded food which is set at the absorption rate of the fish, and it's got a probiotic bacteria in the food, which means when the fish poo, the bacteria in the poo actually breaks down the poo. So you find the tank stays heaps cleaner. I'd also consider feeding what's called Denichi color. And Denichi color makes your fish so colorful and so beautiful. It's a holistic, slow cooked food. It's not pressure cooked and processed. So most fish food is processed crap, but if you get a good food, you'll find that your tank's so much cleaner and you find your fish are so much healthier. So as far as feeding fish is concerned, it's really important to know what to feed, but it's also really important to know how much to feed. So in an aquarium like this, I would usually feed 5 times a week. So I would not feed every day. And then I put a little bit of food in. I want to see the fish eat all the food in 30 seconds. And that's just a place to start. That's a guide. Now, over time, if we're going to look at the fish, we're going to look at the bottom of the gills to the anus. And if there's a little bit of a belly, I'm very happy. If there's a huge belly, besides the fact that goldfish are a pretty fat species, so you do have to bear that in mind, if they're too fat and they're getting too much food, they're going to produce too much waste. But at the same time, we never want that belly going up. We don't want to be starving them. So even if you just send us a little video of the tank running every now and then, just let me have a look at it. And the other thing is, it's really important that we can see this. The reason why I want to see this is because if this starts getting less, that means we have to clean the filter and maybe even clean that impeller that's in the top of the filter. So that's why when you're feeding the fish, we also want to be looking at this. And if you see that's less, that means it's filter clean time. So in general, if we gave that filter a clean once a month, I'd be very, very happy. If we cleaned it every 3 months, well, that's not unusual. And doing it every 6 months, maybe that's a little bit on the lazy side. Maybe we could do a little bit more than that. And ultimately, the quality of your fish is 50% water quality. So the things that I want to get tested, pH. pH is not really that important, because if we look after our KH, the KH looks after the pH. And that's the acidity of the water. Because if we don't clean the water at all, over time the acid's going to go up and up, which means your pH is going to go down. So if we keep having fish in here and the fish are producing carbonic acid, the filter's producing carbonic acid, then over time the pH is going to go down. And if it starts going yellow when you test the pH, then that'll actually burn the fish. So pH and KH looks after the acid of the water. And then we've also got, I like to put a little bit of salt in the water, and that will raise the GH as well. So if it was up to me, I'll see what products you've got. But even if we went and put about 400 grams of cooking salt or pool salt, just like a pure salt. Salt is one of the best things for helping the immune system of the fish. So I also want to put a bit of salt in there. And then when you go to the aquarium shop to get it tested, the 3 things you want to be testing is ammonia, nitrite, and nitrate. So when the fish produce waste, they produce waste in the form of ammonia. Then bacteria in the filter breaks the ammonia into nitrite. Then the bacteria is going to break the nitrite into nitrate. If you've got ammonia and nitrite, it usually means that your filter's not good enough, as long as you've got plenty of oxygen. If your nitrate goes up, it means you need to do more water changes. So we've got a whole bunch of fish stuff here at the moment. So the first thing I want to talk about is water ager. So this one here is about one of the best water agers you can get. This is called Prime. And what this is going to do is make the water okay for the fish. So it's going to take out the chlorines, chloromones, and so forth. So that needs to go in every time we do a water change. If you were going to do a tiny little top up, it's not very important. If you do a big top up, it's a good idea. But we really want to make sure that goes in the water whenever new water goes in there, because we don't want chlorine and chloromone getting into our water, because the chlorine and the chloromone can kill off the good bacteria and actually poison the fish. So this one here is very, very important. So every time water goes in, we got that. Now, pH down, I would never, ever use that with goldfish, because there are various fish, like for example, the ram, it likes a neutral to acidic water, but goldfish really don't care. So this one here I would not put in. Now this one here is pH up. I never, ever use pH up. The reason why I don't use pH up is, number one, that our tap water is usually alkaline anyway, so just do a water change, it does the same thing. And second is, if you raise the pH up using bicarbonates, the presence of any acids just drops it anyway. So I would not use that product. If I was wanting my pH up, I would use a KH up, because if you do it with a KH up, then the pH stays up. Now you've got proper pH. Well, this one is pH 7. If you used a little bit of this, I wouldn't mind, but this really isn't a good product for goldfish. So I'm not against using that, but you're probably not going to need to, because the pH is going to be above 7 anyway. So that one's fine. Now this one here is a antifungal medication. So this is if you start seeing something furry on the fish. And fungus tends to be a secondary infection. So if your fish are getting sick, you're going to start seeing bad behavior. And then you're going to see like a white film on the fish, which is a bacterial infection. And that then can give way to a fungal infection. That's the furry looking one. So really, I'm hoping we don't need to use that one. Now, as far as fish keeping is concerned, fish keeping is 50% water quality and 50% food quality. I'm not a huge fan of flakes, because flake is pressure cooked processed food. So let's call that a TV dinner at best. So this is it's okay. I wouldn't chuck it out. Give it to them every now and then for a bit of a treat. As far as flakes concerned, it's not a bad brand. It's just that I'm not a big fan of flake food. If it was up to me, I'd be feeding pellet foods, and I'd be wanting slow cooked or cold extruded foods. I don't want foods that have been pressure cooked and processed, because you're just destroying all the nutrients. The other thing about flakes is most of the nutrients that are in it aren't even aquatic. So they're not even things that fish eat in the wild. So once again, the food, as far as flake goes, that's not a bad flake, but I would actually not be feeding that. I would be feeding Spectrum and Danichi. So now we've got some test kits here. I'm going to assume these are very old. So that's ammonia, so that's 1st degree fish waste. Then over here we've got nitrite, that's 2nd degree fish waste. I'm worried that these are very, very old, so I'm not too confident with that. We've got some more pH up and down, I don't want that either. We've got a gravel cleaner, that's awesome. I've got a pump for some reason. Let's check out what else we got here. We've got pH tests, so it's better than nothing. So if I was you, I reckon I'd just take a little water sample to the aquarium shop, particularly when it opens, and we want to ask them to test pH, KH, GH, ammonia, nitrite, nitrate. They're the tests that I do. And we actually have what's called a spin test. So what we do, it's like going to the pool shop, and then we just put a little sample of water in the spin test, turn it on. It costs $15. It takes 2 minutes. It tells us everything. So that's what most of my customers do. So what's going on here at the moment is we have some goldfish that has been hanging out in here. There's no filter, there's only an air pump, so the water quality in here would be pretty terrible. So we need to get these guys off into the nice new tank. Oh, it's nice and smelly in there too. We need to get the fish off into the nice new tank as soon as possible, which I'll just do now.